Okay, here we are. Video number 3 in my full breakdown of Gooding the Polymath. And you learned a lot about Gooding in this last half of the book. And I'm not going to lie, this is, I want to say, my third read through, and I'm still noticing things that I did not pick up on the first time. So let's get to it. So if you remember, in the last segment, we left off with, as a matter of fact, let's go to it. We left off with Gooding displaying this exoskeleton that he developed, and that's going to matter. Okay, so starring Sergio Manassis, inspired by true events, how one man has reinvented the world. That's crazy. One man reinvented the world. And now you see Gooding sitting down with Gina watching TV. Apparently, this is some show on TV. And she says, "How does it feel watching yourself?" So now there is a movie based on Gooding. Now, I said something, or I've been responding in my comments, and there's a lot of good critiques about my videos. And look, I appreciate all those critiques. I want to thank you guys for watching, offering your critiques. I'm seeking to make some corrections and some improvements based on those critiques. One of the conversations I've been having in the comments is about the fact that this story does not have enough meat and potatoes. That's a fair critique. That is an honest, fair critique. But here's my take. I think what Mike Barron did in this book was he took the jump cuts approach, because as I mentioned, this is not a Gooding number 1. This is Gooding the Polymath. This is an introduction to Gooding the character, and his life is very complex. And in order to fully cover that complex life and go over every specific detail, you'd probably have to have a book that was at least 200 plus pages. So I believe the approach that Mike Barron took was jump cuts. We're going to jump to different portions of Gooding's life. We're going to show you different things about those portions of his life, and then we're going to jump to the next cut. And it is my guess that in some Gooding books, you're going to see them go into more detail about some of these areas of his life within those books. So that's the approach I think Mike Barron took. I don't mind it at all. Okay, so Gooding says, "I don't relate to this swill. It's laughable." So swill is like garbage. I actually had to look that word up. I'd never seen that word before. This is one of the things I love about comic books. You're introduced to words you have never seen, and you have to look it up. And hopefully, I will be able to use this at some point in my own vocabulary. I love it. My laser fruit labels obviate the need for those irritating little stickers. And man, those stickers on fruit are very irritating. He says, "Come with me. I call it laser appraiser." So now another jump cut. You jump to Gooding doing some martial arts training. Now, why would Gooding do martial arts training? You have a movie based on yourself. You have one of the most influential companies on the planet. Gooding is, if you've not got this by now, Gooding is a do-it-yourself kind of guy. Gooding doesn't want to rely on other people to protect him. He wants to be able to protect himself, which is one of the reasons why I believe he developed this exoskeleton suit. Again, like I said, we see the musings of a hero brewing. So now this man who's obviously training him, his sparring partner, says, "Ready?" He says, "Yeah, come at me." So he comes at Gooding. Gooding flips him. Obviously, he's been training for a while. And again, the approach this book is taking is jump cuts. If you've ever watched a movie and you've seen a portion of that movie where it seems like something just happened out of nowhere, like the scene jumps to another scene and you get either a forward looking or a remembrance view of something that happened, and you don't get all of the details leading up to that, but you can kind of piece things together based on a character. To Mike Barron's credit, I think this is what he did. He said the readers are smart. If they're paying attention to the book, then they'll realize certain things about Gooding's personality and they'll put two and two together, as I did here. This is a do-it-yourself kind of dude. And you see this play out in the coming pages. Okay, so now he's continuing with his conversation, continuing on with a conversation with Gina. And she says, "What's wrong?" He says, "I pulled a muscle working out." "I don't know why you don't just swim. We have a pool." Combat fascinates all men, and this is true. Combat does fascinate all men. If I'm going to exercise, I may as well learn something useful. And look, I cannot argue with him there. And again, this shows the utility mind frame of Gooding. He wants to do something that's more utilitarian, something that's more useful. He doesn't just want to exercise. Gooding doesn't waste time. He doesn't waste time and he doesn't waste energy. And what I've learned reading about different geniuses is this is true of many geniuses. They don't like wasting time. Okay, is this because you were bullied in school? Maybe. She says, "Hiya!" So she's, of course, joking around with him. Med flights are good to go. Outstanding. Man, Gooding, I like this dude, man. When I tell you I like this character, I think there's so much more to him than is realized. Okay, so you can't kind of see this panel right here in my lighting anyway. Can you lower your heart rate further? Hang on. 4-4. Give me your hand, Doc. I feel it slowing down. Unbelievable. Now you're slowing my pulse. How is he able to do this? So this is Ronald Hodges. The last time we saw him was that incident in Argentina, and it seems as though he now has powers. He can manipulate people with whom he's in contact. This could be huge. This could be a huge breakthrough for heart medicine. Now, do you think this is really how procurement is going to use this? Not at all. Ron, can you make their hearts race? Let's find out. So now they bring this dog in, always experiments on animals. And I know that, people who love animals, boy, this is this is going to strike at some heartstrings. So the animal is panting, and you can see where the animal's literally going out. You see this woman here. She is not liking this at all. It turns her stomach. And then you see, I believe, is this Mr. Silk? He says, "Bring in Tipton. Please, Mr. Silk." Yes, Mr. Silk. I have two little kids. You should have thought of that before you sold my secrets to a competitor. So as I already pointed out before, this Mr. Silk is not a savory character. He is not a savory character at all, which is why he hires other unsavory characters. So now they supply Ronald Hodges, who will be known as Splatterpuss. I think I said Platypus in the last video. It's kind of hilarious. Splatterpuss is his name. Just hover above the deck. Don't try to take it for a spin. So they've given him this suit that allows him to fly. I hate to rush things, but we have a situation that is tailor-made for your unique gifts. Lay it on me. So they have something they want to lay on him. Okay. Four Corners District Attorney Paulo Cavalera was found dead this morning of what appears to be a brain aneurysm. Well, how do you think that happened? Mr. Cavalier was in excellent health. His wife found him after he failed to appear for breakfast. Although there's no sign of foul play, Cavalier's unexpected death occurs 1 week after he announced an investigation into Pueblo based Procurement Incorporated. Procurement's chairman, James Silk, was unavailable for comment. Of course, he was unavailable for comment. And this is where I say this book is building into something so monumental that it is exciting. And I guess I'm more excited than some people. Some people wanted more from the book, which I understand. Like I said, fair critiques, but I happen to disagree with those critiques. My source tells me that they found him with blood spurting from his eyes, nose, ears, and mouth. This is not normal, right? There's no person who has an aneurysm that you're going to see this from and go, oh, that's perfectly fine. Nothing to see here. No, you're going to have major questions. You're going to be like, wait a minute. They found and saw what? Okay, my research into magnetic induction and blood work indicates it's possible to artificially induce an aneurysm. What's the goal here? Preventing murder. Okay, so now you see Goodyng again in his exosuit that he has developed. Uh, do you have to do this yourself? I test everything myself. Hit it, Zubin. So they hit him. Voila. He's still good. Brilliant work, Cato. Dean, Dean, will you lock up? Yes, sir. So this dude locks up. So now, you sure you weren't followed? I'm sure. Keep up the good work. I should have something else for you in about a week. What? A new element, tarsinogen. The possibilities are endless. Hi, guy. And he has a question like, yo, who's this dude? And of course, this is Splatterpuss. He shakes his hand, and this dude is dead immediately. Now, there's a kid looking out of a window that sees this. And of course, Splatterpuss, being the guy he is that never thinks before he acts, just acts with no forethought, no planning. He's bound to make mistakes. And I think that's paramount in understanding exactly how all these things play out. I think it's very important that you understand the mentality of this dude, Splatterpuss. He's not a thinker. He's not a thinker at all. Okay, the sheriffs approach Mr. Gooding's house. Officers, sir, were you Dean Robbins' employer? Were. Sir, we're sorry to tell you this, but Mr. Robbins was found in an alley this morning, stuffed inside a dumpster. He was bleeding from his eyes, nose, and mouth. So, Gooding's already a thinker. He is already putting two and two together. This doesn't make sense. The coroner thinks it was an aneurysm. Who stuffed him in a dumpster? Like, if this is an aneurysm, why would he be stuffed in a dumpster? He would have just been found dead, wherever he was. That area's a blackout. Drones don't work there. Did he have any enemies? We deal in highly classified information. I don't think he was mugged. Helga, get me everything Robbins worked on. Send me whatever you've got. Shut it down. Put it in a Faraday box right away, Mr. Goodyng. Write everything down by hand. Don't type it. You see, it's small things like this that I think could easily be missed. Goodyng is so thoughtful that he's like, okay, whoever has done this, whatever is going on, we need to make sure nothing is traced and they have no idea what we're looking into. So we're going to write everything down. They're not going to be able to trace this digitally. This is ingenious. It's simple, but it is ingenious. A new element, carcinogen. The possibilities are endless. So Gina says, have you seen this? We got this off an Argentinian satellite. Oh my God. So he notices the face. He knows exactly who this is. Ron bleeping Hodges. Autopsies indicate uh, autopsies indicate Robbins died from a massive aneurysm. He had no history of heart trouble. Interesting. Robbins worked for Goodyng Services. Cato Goodyng has not responded to our queries. So now, there's reports going on. When reporters get involved, they always make stuff messy. We will not rest until Robbins' murderer is apprehended and punished to the fullest extent of the law. Now you see this scene right here where Goodyng has on his exoskeleton suit. All of these things that happen earlier in the book are leading you to this point. Ronnie Hodges, the bully from high school. Yep. Oh, for God's sake, is he coming here? Of course he's coming here. Procurement hired him to come after me. How do you know that? Again, Mike Barron is giving you context clues into the complex thinking of Goodyng, which is why he is always ahead of his enemy. But here's what this sets up. There's going to be some tragedy, and there's going to be an enemy that Goodyng cannot account for, and it's going to challenge him. This is going to make the challenge Goodyng faces at some point even greater. And he's a man of many strengths, but there's going to be someone at some point to match this strength, and I'm here for it. I asked AI, who do I have to fear? They gave me a top 10 and several hundred more procurements working for a think tank in Dubai. I thought they did security. They're whatever you pay them to be. So he's aware of the shady nature of this procurement group. They're not necessarily savory characters. All right. Okay. So one of these excepts does security. Do you want me to give him a call? No. People have to know that Goodyng Services can protect itself. Henzo says, I can do it myself. Who's Henzo? My AI program. Who we have technology. I have the training. I can't appear to be weak. This man is a trained killer. Do you know what they call him? Splatterpuss. He can make your head explode. So now we get details behind where this alias came from. He can only kill me if he can touch me. He will come to the auditorium. I'll be ready. So again, this is where I say I understand why he was so easily able to deal with Ronnie Hodges, a.k.a. Splatterpuss, because this dude is a bird brain. He has powers, but he is a bird brain. And I imagine at some point he is going to figure out that it takes more than powers and brute force. You have to be a thinker. Did you not hear me? I said this man is a trained killer. You shouldn't be in the same zip code as this guy. And he says, trust me. So now you fast forward to this auditorium, this Goodyng Services auditorium. I guess they set something up and he was waiting. He knew Splatterpuss was going to be there. So you see some dialogue from Splatterpuss as he comes in. Hey, bleep. So obviously, cursed at him. Come on down, Ron. Who would think that after all these years, I'd get another chance to punch you out? And then Goodyng says, you remember the last time? Or do you remember the last punch, Ron? I had to get a tetanus shot. I missed school. They held me back a year. Learn anything? Heard you found a new element. Way to go, fella. Hey, what say we let bygones be bygones? What do you say? So he is not expecting that Gooding knows anything about his powers, anything about what he can do, and he thinks Gooding's going to shake his hand. No, Gooding flings a bowl at him. And if you're paying attention, you notice that under Gooding's suit, he has on his exosuit. And I'm assuming this exosuit gives him some pretty impressive abilities, along with him being trained now. All of this makes sense. So he hits Splatterpuss with this bowl, and Splatterpuss says, almost impressive, as he shoots this gun at him. So what Gooding is doing here, and look, I'm paying attention, Mike Barron. I see what you're doing. Gooding isn't necessarily shooting at him to harm him. He's shooting at him to see what is this dude's vulnerabilities. You see, Gooding is very calculated. He's watching all of these things. He's going to test what is the strength of this guy and what his reflexes are, right? So, boom, he punches Gooding, and obviously Gooding has on this exoskeleton suit, so it doesn't really do him any harm. And so he says, you learn how to take a punch. He has no idea what's going on. Gooding throws a knife at him, now checking his reflexes. You see, I'm catching what you're putting down, Mike Barron. So he catches the knife. So Gooding is like, all right, his reflexes are on point. But what happens now? So now you see this mist in the eyes of Splatterpuss. Clearly, there was something in that knife, right? And I wonder if this is one of those knives that he created that's infused. That would be really genius. You see, there's so many things that Mike Barron did that you could easily miss. So he shoots him with some kind of trank after that, after he stunned him. Now the police come, they take him, and he says the trank will wear off in an hour. Don't touch him. He can induce an embolism through contact. Is he one of these specials? I don't know what he is. He works for procurement in Pueblo. He murdered my assistant, Dean Robbins. He used our technology to transition. We have no jurisdiction there. We're going to investigate that ourselves. So the police, they're letting him know they have no jurisdiction in Pueblo, but he's like, not necessary. We got this. Gooding is a self-made man that is not reliant on the government. Not that the government is all bad, but he understands there are limitations to what you can do. You can't help me here. Now, I would imagine Gooding, being a smart, perceptive young man, understanding that in his lifetime, or maybe previous to this, I'm not exactly sure of the timeline, the United States has fell apart. It's now 7 different territories. So the government is not going to always be there to set things right. And he definitely understands this, and that informs how he thinks and how he moves. Procurement used technologies they stole from us. Don't do anything stupid, the cops say. What kind of security do you have? We provide our own security. Do you think that's a good idea? Sir, I was confident I could subdue Hodges without help. Don't make a habit of it. Here's one area where I'm telling you Gooding is going to have a problem. And I think Mike Barron is giving you context clues. Gooding is brilliant. He's smart, but he has too much confidence in his own ability, and he thinks he doesn't need anyone. And at some point, that is going to come back to bite him. You know what I think the great challenge for Gooding is? You know what I think his great nemesis is really in this book? I think it's himself. He is so overconfident that he thinks he can do it all. No one person can do it all. We all need help. We all have areas of oversight. So now in Flores Park, there is a message from Goodyng. Good evening. I'm Cato Goodyng. From now on, Goodyng Services will extinguish fires in this county. When you call the fire department, it will go to us. Yesterday, a fire broke out in Cowboy condominiums. Uh, our satellite picked up instantly, and we responded within 10 minutes. Fortunately, the building was largely empty, and we were able to get the remaining inhabitants out. Using nanotechnology, we extinguished the fire in less than a minute. There is no cost to you for this service. Just say Goodyng firefighters into your personal device. Now, how do you think he's paying for this? Because he has a company that is worth billions, probably trillions. And he funds this whole operation off of other things. Goodyng is a genuinely noble dude. Now, again, as I said, he's not without flaw. He is arrogantly overconfident. And that will be something he will have to address. And I think that will be something that will cause him problems in future battles. Okay, the killer known as Splatterpuss remains in a medically induced coma under police guard. Officers, I'm relieving you. On whose authority? Texas Rangers. You took long enough. Let's go. So now he's being broken out. So the cops come to Goodyng's house. They say, Mr. Goodyng, earlier this evening, Ronald Hodges escaped from the hospital. Come in, officers. Okay, how did he escape? Some guy, he was wearing a scrambler, knocked out the cameras. Splatterpuss is too valuable an asset for procurement to leave behind. Thanks for telling me. We're providing you with around-the-clock protection. That won't be necessary. How's that? Criminals must know that we're not only impervious to their attacks, but will meet any transgression with swift and commensurate response. Thanks for the heads up, guys. Thanks for the coffee. So Goodyng really thinks he's impervious to criminals. He thinks that he cannot be touched. And of course, you know, the back of the book, same as the cover right here. This is a good book, man. This is a good book. And I understand all the criticisms. I don't think the criticisms are unwarranted, but I think if you're not paying attention, there are very detailed things that Mike Barron does with the plot, does with certain pieces of information, and he really gives you a clue into what's coming. Again, Goodyng believes he's impervious to it. Nobody's impervious. Nobody. He's a thinker, absolutely. He thinks far ahead of his enemies, absolutely. He's very perceptive, absolutely. But this confidence, this arrogant confidence will be the thing that will be the kink in his armor, and I'm looking forward to it. But overall, I'm excited about this character. I think this is a very well done, well crafted story. Kudos Ripperverse. Kudos Mike Barron. I like what I see.